We are here this evening with Claudio Lasso, who is the co-director of a new show playing at the Selma Arts Center. And this show has a really memorable title, so I will let you tell us what it's called.
It is called Evil Dead, the Musical.
Now, readers of my writing know that I am a huge fan of weird, quirky, strange, bizarre little musicals. And sort of the test that I have is I'll tell somebody the name of a musical that I'm going to, and if they look at me and they're totally shocked, then that's a good thing. What drew you to this particular title?
So what's interesting is that Summer Session was actually the one who pitched it to the Arts Council. And once she found out that she was pregnant, she asked me if I could co-direct with her because her due date is opening night. So I said, no pressure. But I said yes, of course, because Summer had just worked on me with Ride the Cyclone.
I am the amazing Karnak.
We've always had a kinship. And so that's what really drew me to jump onto the show. But I love horror films. I've always been a fan of horror films. And when I heard Evil Dead the Musical, of course I was going to say yes. It's a weird show and it's right up my alley.
So I am not a huge horror movie fan, but if you put it on stage, I will eat it up. But I actually realized that I don't know if Evil Dead, that is an actual movie that they're parodying, right?
Yeah.
But it also has all the tropes, or most of the tropes that you would think of when it comes to horror movies.
Yeah.
So tell us a couple of those.
Yeah. So the show itself is actually based off the first two movies. And Act 1 is the first movie, Act 2 is the second movie, but they kind of blend together. And then there's quotes from Army of Darkness. So it is really a big play to the whole Evil Dead universe. But, you have your ditzy girl, you have your jock-like character, you have the final girl, you have all these different interpretations, and then you have the hero of Ash. So, yeah, there's a lot of funny characters. And there's also there's Ed, who is supposed to be like a character who doesn't matter, and then he sings a song about how he doesn't matter. So there are a lot of tropes in the show.
And there's also a lot of fun references to the occult. What's the Book of the Dead called?
It's called the Necronomicon.
And of course, what's the last thing you really want to open up and expose to the world is some book that's going to let all these demons come through. So part of this show, the challenge, well, there's a couple challenges because we'll talk about the horror and the blood in a moment, but the music really does have a variety of styles. So you're talking doo-wop, almost like a gospel number. What has that been like?
It's been very fun working with the kind of music that it has because there's rock, there's doo-wop, like you said, but there's also sort of like a ballady, like a love ballad song. And all these different genres are so bizarre working in one show, but they do. And I think the most interesting aspect is how do we tell those songs' story truthfully while staying in the aesthetic and the tone of the show. And that was the biggest challenge. But leaning into the honesty of everything has been the most, I think, easiest way to approach everything.
Now, I can't remember. Is there a Walmart in Selma?
I believe there is a Walmart in Selma, but they really need to get an S-Mart in here.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that. So let's get to the blood. Let's get to the horror. Well, first of all, for people who are really scared of stuff on stage, does this count as a scary show? Are there those moments where you jump up and scream and stuff like that, or does it lend more toward the comedy side of things?
I think that is an interesting question because that was something that Summer and I wanted to balance. We wanted to make sure that we did have some aspects of what is expected from horror. And so there is some tension, there is some suspense moments, but overall it is a super campy show. So it's horror and scariness, but in the tone of camp. And so it's kind of leaning on that aspect of horror, if that makes sense.
So there is a song called Cabin in the Woods. kind of says it all, doesn't it? And it, one of the things that as an audience member, when you're in a movie like that, you like want to tell the characters, like, don't do this stupid thing that you're obviously going to do because there are going to be consequences. So how does the audience kind of factor in as almost a character in this show?
The audience being a character in the show, I would have to say, really leans on you kind of have to go into it watching Evil Dead, knowing what you know about horror and its tropes and the things that are to be expected, and to lean into the fact that those things are going to happen, but know that we're doing it in a fun way and in a fun twist that can help it feel like it's unexpected, because there are some unexpected moments.
I think what helps me with horror theater versus horror movies is really horror movies can feel more realistic. You're in the dark, you feel like you're kind of alone, and the theater gives you a little bit more of a security blanket. So let's talk about the blood. We are sitting in what you're calling the splash zone. How many seats are in the splash zone?
I believe there are 30 seats in the splash zone.
And if you can see, everything's covered in plastic. What are your chances if you sit in the splash zone of getting splashed?
I would say 100% chance.
100% chance of splash.
Yes, we are making sure that we have blood ninjas, because the script calls for if any additional blood is needed, it said to add blood ninjas. And we said, well, of course, we're going to add blood ninjas. So although the show has built-in blood moments, there are also additional people who are going to sneak out. Not so sneaky, but their intention is to spray everybody.
Okay. So just curious, I am planning to sit in the splash zone for your dress rehearsal. Are other people going to be here with me?
I know that we have an invited audience. The Art Center always invites the cast from the previous show to come to our final dress. And so there might be some people with you. I think there are going to be 3 or 4. But
I'm going to be like there's only going to be a few of us, so.
You are a target.
Well, maybe we can take a walk up on stage, because there are actually some pretty cool effects that the show has, and maybe you can show us one?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. There are certain songs in certain Broadway musicals that I just love, and I end up actually writing about it. And if you ever see me actually write the lyrics to a song, that usually means I'm obsessed with it. And the song that you sing in this show is one, and give me the full title, because it's long.
Oh, it's very simple. It's All the Men in My Life Keep Getting Killed by Kandarian Demons. Okay. Very simple.
It is one of my favorites. I do not know why it cracks me up so much. When did you first hear this song?
Okay, so funnily enough, me and my boyfriend were going to go see Evil Dead Rise in theaters, and he said, wouldn't it be so funny if there was an Evil Dead musical? Lo and behold, there is. So we listened to the soundtrack and decided it was the funniest thing we have ever heard in our lives. So that's when I first heard it, and I instantly wanted to play the role. It was, oh God, it's so funny.
So you would describe this as a doo-wop?
Yes.
Because you have a background of chorus.
I sure do.
And that actually adds a lot to the hilarity of it. But without singing it, because I'm going to hear you sing later tonight, tell us just a little bit, tell us what the song is about. It's a very specific plot.
Well, it is a problem that most women face, where all of the male counterparts in their lives end up done away with by demons of the Kandarian nature. And it's very hard for her. It's a very sore subject. She feels very strongly about it. And she's just explaining how all of these occurrences have happened and how much it has pained her.
It's hilarious. So your character, how do you describe her?
Usually when people ask me how I'm playing Annie, she is a strong, independent female character written by a man.
Okay. And are you a horror movie fan? I guess if you were going to horror movies.
I love horror movies.
Why do you think people love horror movies so much?
Well, I guess the basic answer is it's fun to be scared, but you know nothing's actually going to hurt you. I guess it's just fun to be scared. It's fun to, see something thrilling and know you're not in any actual danger.
I'm sure that there will be people in the audience who have never been to a musical that isn't like a traditional musical. In fact, I bet there will be people coming from Sound of Music to see this show.
Yeah.
Do you think people are surprised when they learn that there's this whole other world of like weird, deranged, hilarious musicals?
Absolutely. I actually have some friends who are coming to this show that I've never seen a musical before, simply because they said, Evil Dead musical? That sounds insane. And it is. So I'm very excited for them to see it. But I personally didn't get into theater until I was around 17 years old. But from the very first show I did, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, because there's so many different kinds of theater, so many genres, and of course parody musicals like this are a whole other kind of thing.
Yeah, I think for somebody who's only seen traditional musicals, what preparation would you give them before seeing Evil Dead?
The number one thing I would say is don't use your brain too much. Just sit back and enjoy it, because if you think about it a little too much, it's not fun anymore. Just let it happen.
Just absorb the experience.
Just experience the experiences.
Well, thank you, Emily. I'm really looking forward to the song.
I am too.
We are here with Glenda taking a look at some of the props backstage. I'm a little scared of this one. Tell us what it is.
So this is the Book of the Dead, which is called the Necronomicon. It is used to open all the floodgates to the demons of the underworld that come and attack our 5 college students in the cabin.
So basically, it's opening the gates of hell if you read anything. And it actually has a very cool cover. Did somebody make that locally?
Yes, Caleb, our prop master, made this himself. He actually told me how he made it. He got 2 books and pre-binded it, and then used some foam and a lot of texturing to make this creepy looking book.
Okay, so what are some of the other unusual and interesting props?
Some of our interesting props have to be our blood masks that are just right here, actually. Our wonderful SFX makeup artist and blood person, Elizabeth Heinrichs, made them out of latex. They're actually molded to fit all characters perfectly to their faces, so they're comfortable and scary.
Wow. Will they get to keep them afterward?
I don't know what else we would use them for here, but if they take them, we won't tell.
Okay. Something to hang on your wall, right?
I won't be taking it.
Right. So this is not just any regular ordinary chainsaw. This is very customized.
Yes, this is very customized. Most people would hold a chainsaw like this, but for our Ash, he gets to hold it like this. There's a nice little handle inside that helps it be his own hand, kind of like Freddy Krueger a little bit.
What do you think it is about horror movies and chainsaws? There's just something that they go together.
I don't understand it. One, I don't like horror movies, but knowing that they use chainsaws, I never want to be around one, so it's okay.
Now, you're the stage manager of this show, and I can't think of a harder show to manage. Is this a real challenge?
This has been a real challenge. I'm so happy I have a co-stage manager. Jacob Gonzalez, he helped me a lot because I don't think I can handle backstage and up there with the amount of cues he has and the amount of blood moments we have in this show. It's a beast more than I've ever had before.
So we're here with Elizabeth, the special effects artisan for Evil Dead the Musical. Is this a talent that you have put to good use in other productions, or is this all new for you?
Yes, I have done SFX and blood for several productions, namely Hookman by Laura Mee, was done at Fresno City College, directed by Summer Sessions. I actually won a national award for it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
what do you do to like keep up on the newest special effects and like blood trends? Is that like an internet thing, or?
It kind of is. It's actually a medical thing. Before I even went into anything theater, I was really into medicine and the human body and how it functioned and how it was made, like it's made and all its components. And so keeping up with medical journals and how different accidents happen and how people go into different injuries, because if you were to replicate those injuries, you want to go off of real life, which does include a lot of private web searches so that people who share a computer do not get scared when they open the computer.
Exactly. So is there a recipe for the blood that you use in this production?
Yes, I change it for every production just because different productions need special accommodations. So for this show, they are going to be close to the body, close to the set pieces, but then also hitting an audience. So I couldn't just use a regular blood recipe or a blood sampling from a regular company. I had to include different soaps, different dyes, as well as different removers for different fabrics. I worked with the costumer, worked with the directors, and made sure that everything was formulated specially for the show.
So I just want to say that I'm going to be sitting in the splash zone and I'm getting more and more scared as this interview unfolds. I noticed too that your hands are stained. Do you go home every day like this?
No, I typically from the start of the first production meeting to right before blood tech, I am wearing gloves all the way up to my elbows. That just is because I have a day job in theater, but I don't want to go to a job and people think, oh, she did something. Even though they always see me in blood or paint, which is on my glasses actually. But I try my best to limit the amount of blood that goes on me because I want to save as much as I use.
Did you have to work extra with the actors in this show, just in terms of how they interact with the effects and the blood? And
what's lovely about this show is I didn't. I was really surprised with how quickly blood tech was able to be wrapped up. We didn't have to take 18 hours in that day.
And did you call it blood tech?
Blood tech. It's called blood tech.
But like, because I've heard of
a dry tech and there's a wet tech
and
there's blood tech.
Okay, so it's an extra tech.
It's right in between dry tech and wet tech because once all the cues are written down for the SM and ASM, you want to also run every show cue by cue, scene by scene, slowly, over and over again, so that actors and crew, it's mostly for the crew, get used to the flow of everything because you're adding an entire new element right at tech.
So is there one little detail that you can give us? And for example, on the window here, the cast members have put like kind of cast graffiti.
This is me.
Oh, okay.
I put that one there.
And so you wouldn't be able to see that from the audience. Is there anything you can share about the set or the techniques you could use? Yeah.
There's some obvious ones that happen during the show, but also I have instructed the blood crew to do a little bit of a warning. So if you look at the right places, you'll get warned right before you get shot.
Okay.
So the audience getting shot with blood.
Okay.
So if you end up finding them, you can prepare yourself. But if you don't, it's a little surprise.
Well, that's a good tip. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
This set was built and designed by Christina McCollum, who works at Fresno City College. Me and Summer and Chris have worked with her a lot. But she designed this set to look like the cabin in the movies, but with a little twist of her own. And so all of this is made with real wood. She made sure that the stone paneling was here to give it like an old vibe. And as you can see, it is stained and it's going to be stained with blood.
I can tell you for certainty that it is stained. It already looks lived in.
Yes, and so we wanted to make sure that we gave a nod to Evil Dead, as well as letting our designers have their own original ideas. Whenever I work on shows, I always want to make sure that it's a collaborative process. So they show me what they're thinking of, and I give my thoughts. So this was designed by Kimmy Vermillion. She made this with her husband, and it is one of my favorite parts of the show. This is the demonic moose from Evil Dead, and well, I won't give everything away, but he is movable and he comes to life at some point in the scene.
And you actually have an actor who voices.
Yeah, so he's voicing it and controlling it as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so he's going to have his mic on, and he puts his hands in there, and he controls it and everything.
Okay.
And the whole set actually comes to life at some point. We have some references here to horror films that Summer and I love. So this is the house from Scream. And then we have a picture from The Shining, the Overlook Hotel photo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so every aspect of this is very worn down and torn down. And then, we have cast messages here, but that's
nice.
silliness.
Not really close enough to read them.
Yeah, it's for people up here.
But I can see where you could have some fun with that.
Yeah, so...
And then, of course, the fish.
Yeah, you got to have your fish, your
always going
prize
to be
fish.
a fish in the cabin in the wood. So anything else that you want to let people
know about the set?
Know about the set or the show?
I think what people should know about the show is that this group of crew and actors has definitely put their whole heart into this, as well as some blood, sweat, and tears, literally. And it is not easy doing this high energy show. It is very campy and it demands a lot of you. But I think it's an awesome love letter to horror, to musicals, and to theater in general. And so, yeah, I think people should just know that they're in for a good time.
So it runs through
August 16th through September 7th.
Okay. So that's enough time for people to figure out a weekend that they can come down and see it. Actually make the short drive to Selma. It's not that far. And you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. We have 4 weekends. We have 2 social hours where you can come dressed up in costume and enjoy beer and wine sales. We have 2 different understudy performances where some of our wonderful understudies are going to take the stage. And we've made sure to give them just as much rehearsal time because this requires a lot of knowledge, especially with the blood effects and other things. So come see the show. We have so much in store for you.
I adjust my hair and make people pay. At the edge of the night, there's not a deadline I can handle.